Good evening. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and thank you for joining me on this edition of Technology Access Television. This is a part two. I'm continuing my conversation with one of the up-and-coming leaders in the IT and communication space that is an entrepreneur making waves here in Chicago and around the Midwest. My guest is Shaun Butler of BSM, which is a IT services and solution provider providing clients in education, healthcare, government, and enterprise systems solutions in the IT and communication space. But today, we're not going to talk so much geeky talk about hardware and software and IT services. We're going to talk about the human capital side of the technology business. You know, when I look over some of the research here in Illinois and throughout the country, with all of the growth that we've seen in the IT and communication sector and all of the prognostications of this being where the jobs are and where the goal is in terms of economic opportunity, there's been some type of disconnect because I know many large companies, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies have been paring back, and a lot of people that have been losing jobs are those who have been in the IT arenas and with technology skill sets. There's been an offset because along with the downsizing of the bigger firms, we've seen the upsizing of firms like here in Chicago, Groupon, or nationally with companies like Facebook or Google or you name it. But what does that mean right here, hometown Chicago? How is there a pipeline for folks that want to be a part of this economic vibrancy and be a part of these new communities? Why is there such a tale of two cities between what's going on downtown and what's going on in some areas and not going on in other communities? So I've asked my guests to stick around and have a additional dialogue around this conversation of talent pipelining. What's in place, what's not in place, what's missing, and how can all of us make investments so that we can have a bright future, not only opportunistically, but in our pockets and economically, and seeing vibrant, healthy, prosperous communities on all sides of town, not just downtown, but at all sides of town. My guest today, again, is Shaun Butler, the president, CEO, and founder of BSM Solutions here in the Chicago area. Shaun, thank you for sticking around.
Thanks for continuing to have me on.
Well, the reason I asked to continue this is because we were talking so much off camera. I figured we might as well talk on the record.
Okay.
And you and I had the occasion of attending an event recently that was hosted by none other than Google here in Chicago.
Yes.
It was done under the umbrella of Black History Conversation, and it was talking about some of the different trends and challenges that beset African Americans to being a full part of the landscape in IT, whether it's from the education or academic standpoint, or whether it's from economic opportunity and entrepreneurship and access to venture capital and startups and all that kind of thing. And so I really feel this is a very vibrant dialogue, and evidently we didn't get a lot of it off our chest at the event the other night. So I thought we try to get some of it off our chest here this evening.
Sure.
One of the questions that comes up is, of course, about what needs to happen within our educational system, and we're talking now about K through 12 education that gets all of our talent into the game. Now, you spend a lot of time calling on schools, providing IT solutions for schools, helping to set up computer labs and those types of things. What do you see is some of the challenge of not just having computers in schools, but having teachers, students, and families benefit from that technology in ways that could put them on the track to participate in this industry?
Well, a lot of it is awareness and tutelage. By that, I mean it's one thing to actually have a physical computer lab. It's another thing to have a student population that knows how to really utilize the equipment. There's one school system that's an urban school system, and I was talking to a teacher recently, and they made a large acquisition in terms of hardware with desktops and laptops. And she was talking to me about how they've got all these new computers, but they can't print because they don't have Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is not set up adequately. So there's a disconnect in that instance with infrastructure. There was they made an attempt at coming up to par, if you will, with technology, but it wasn't a total solution.
And it's really interesting that you would mention that. It's so funny because I was just talking to somebody yesterday about E-rate. And E-rate has been around for probably going on 10 years, which has subsidized the acquisition of infrastructure so that internet access and broadband and Wi-Fi should be available in these schools. But it's something, again, there's something amiss here, because schools have spent millions purportedly on E-rate, and it's gone to all of the household names that we know about. And still you hear today that schools aren't properly connected and don't have good infrastructure, can't print, Wi-Fi isn't working. What's up with that?
There's a disconnect, obviously, and I don't know, where the disconnect is occurring, but it definitely needs to be addressed. But if you just look at it from a utilization standpoint, from the student standpoint, we've talked about it many times. There needs to be more of a focus at the elementary school level on STEM, okay, and preparing these students to think about the sciences, technology, engineering, and math, so that they will be viable candidates in the future, whether it's at the college level or in the workplace, after that. And we don't have enough of it, particularly in the urban communities. I don't think it's formalized enough. I don't think we focused on it enough, and I don't think the kids really understand what's out there in terms of careers, okay, and income. Income tends to drive a lot of the urban youth. As someone was talking about at the meeting we were at recently, that we've got a lot of African American youth that focus the majority of their time on sports, and the reason they do that because they can actually see the reward that, at the end of the day, whether it be the NBA, NFL, or Major League Baseball. But guess what? Mark Zuckerberg, who is the founder of Facebook, can buy any team or multiple teams that he'd like. So,
well,
the players would be working for a technology person.
No better example than Mark Cuban down in Dallas. Mark Cuban is an interesting guy.
Yes, he is.
He had a company that was in the tech space, kind of right place at the right time. Sold out to Yahoo when Yahoo was all the rage. Sold it out for a whole lot of money. Company turned out not to be nothing special at all. Yahoo ended up shuttering the business shortly after paying.
Absolutely, $3 billion, I think.
For it. Yeah. So he laughed all the way to the bank, and then, of course, part of his bank was to buy that team. But here's the interesting thing that you and I have talked about. Now, if we look all up and down the athletic ranks, from pro to college to even high school, that if you talk to a high school basketball coach, let's say, my uncle happened to be the former principal of Simeon High School and was part of the resurrection of Simeon from an old warehouse to the national powerhouse that it is today. Now, if I go out there and talk to the current basketball coach or the football coach at Simeon, he knows where the talent is in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade that will ultimately be playing for him at Simeon High School. Now, if I talk to Mike Krzyzewski at Duke or Syracuse or any other top programs in the country, they already know where the talent is in high school and junior high, that they ultimately hope to be playing for the Orange Men or playing for the Blue Devils. Now, if you take that up another rank to NBA prospects, they won't even let the guys graduate from college before they're snatching them, trying to bring them into pros. Now, let's flip over to the business world. There's not that same depth of perception that is talking about early identification, because I guarantee you, if we were to go into Simeon High School or Whitney Young or any of these other schools in the city and say, where are the geeks at? Who are the guys that are always messing with laptops and mobile phones and in the computer lab and scoring, 10,000 points on Xbox and everything and taking it apart, putting it back together? People could tell us who they were. And some of those young men, I have a young man right now that is already received a full ride scholarship to U of I.
Wow.
USC is trying to get him. He doesn't want to go to any of those schools. He wants to go to MIT. MIT won't call him back And we're trying to pull some strings to make that happen. But the point is, there's not enough of that. That what are we doing on the talent side to let those types of people in all communities know what the pipeline is, not just in sports, but in technology and communications and healthcare and all the other areas that would benefit from early identification of STEM talent?
Well, I think we could take some lessons from the sporting arena. If you look, and it actually evolved into what it is now to me in terms of awareness of talent. You know, I'm a child of the 80s, and when I was coming up, you would still have people come out of nowhere, like a Scottie Pippen, came out of Central Arkansas. Mm-hmm. No one had heard of him. Mm-hmm. He did well at some camps. At the end of his college career, then he became a lottery pick. Charles Oakley is another example, a guy who went to Virginia Union and HBCU.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And what has happened since then to now is that you have all of these ground level support mechanisms, whether it's the AAU basketball, you've got a lot of tournaments that go on. They start at an early age. In football, you have the Pop Warner feeder system. You have a lot of spin-off entities that provide rankings of talent. There's some infrastructure.
There's an infrastructure, there's cultivation, there's a defined pipeline, and the young people, the parents, everybody knows how to be on that track. But when it comes to business, entrepreneurship, STEM, that track is less defined.
Absolutely.
But now we've got some things, they have these high school robotics competitions. And it was a time that many of these programs were not equally dispersed through diverse audiences. The inner city schools didn't have robotics programs. They had it
Absolutely.
at Northside College Prep, they had it at Whitney Young, but they didn't have it at Simeon or some of the other schools.
Yes.
Every time one of those diverse schools gets a chance, African American schools, black schools, Hispanic schools gets a chance to compete in those programs, they do well.
Sure.
They succeed.
Sure.
Whether they're girls or whether they're young men, they get a chance, but they haven't had that opportunity. So then the question becomes, our community spends a lot of money on communications goods and services, IT goods and services, one way or another. But there is not the reciprocal investment that would be dealing with creating the kind of pipeline that you're talking about. What do you think it's going to take to engage? Because you spend a lot of time talking to your partners about doing business, doing good business.
Right.
You're bringing business to the table, but there's got to be a offsetting opportunity to cultivate this kind of talent.
Well, I think it's awareness. If we're to be successful in engaging corporate partnership and investment in our intellectual capital, I think we have to, first of all, make them aware of the business case for it. Mm-hmm. Okay, let them know that there are Mark Zuckerbergs in Inglewood, okay, in Chatham, on the West Side, in Pilsen, things of that nature, and that it's worth their while to get in the game early. Mm-hmm. You know, going back to sports, when I was coming out of school, you would get a scholarship maybe at the end of your junior year if you were very, very good. If you were good your senior year. Kids are getting scholarships now their freshman year.
That's correct.
I've read about some middle schoolers getting scholarships from major powerhouse programs like UCLA because they're trying to get in the game early and let these folks know we have our eye on you, you have value, and we want you to come our way. The same thing could happen with these major corporate technology companies. Okay, get in the game early. And next thing you know, that expose this talent that you have, and it's all over the place, to what you have to offer, help to cultivate the talent, and in return, you could get the next big R&D scientist or the next executive or whatever working for your company because you're getting in the game early.
Yeah. You and I were talking that just this week. Because a lot of people are saying, well, it's all about money. It's all about money. And there was a company that was started less than 3 years ago that had a focus of creating a communications product to be used on mobile phones And the focus of this product was to deliver, because the interesting thing about mobile phones and cell phones is there's a whole different way that they're treated in Africa, in Asia, in India, in South America. Because in the United States, we've had every kind of communications technology at our disposal from day one.
Yes, we have.
But in Ghana or Nigeria or Liberia or South Africa or Brazil or Colombia, they didn't have all of these. It wasn't a pay phone on every corner. Every phone didn't have 3 TV sets and 2 phones and all this kind of stuff. So when the mobile revolution came, this was their big chance to jump on it and to use it and exploit it in many different types of ways. So the bottom line is this app that was created to serve this new emerging mobile market created a company in 3 years that was recently acquired by Facebook for $19 billion. $19 billion. There is like you said, you had a $19 billion, you can go buy you can buy any
team you want.
You can buy any team you want.
But some leagues if you want. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You go start a league somewhere.
Absolutely.
Because when you look at many foreign players are playing in the NBA right now, it might as well be a foreign league. But we need to connect the dots between this emerging marketplace, the new kinds of opportunities that are there, the role talent plays in entrepreneurship, and spread this through our system. So again, when we talk about these rising companies with these rising checkbooks, they too are in a battle, because if they don't have the best and brightest at Google, really what they're buying is talent.
That's exactly
they're
what they're
not
buying.
buying.
It's exactly what they're buying.
Because I understand from this company, WhatsApp, the first thing they did is they put the guy on the board. They're want to keep him around. They want to lock up all his engineering talent so that they don't go anywhere. That's really what they're looking to do, because Facebook has recognized that mobile is where the dollars are being spent, the dollars are being invested. The smartphone of 5 years from now, who knows what that device is going to be. But yet when we look in our own community, in the black community on the south side of Chicago, young blacks are twice as likely as their suburban counterparts to have a current smartphone, to have a data plan, to have 10 or more apps that they use on a regular basis. So why can't we convert that obvious gravitation to that technology to flip it around and say, not only can you be a consumer, but you can be a producer of this very technology that you're so fascinated with? Can we engage the range of people in this ecosystem to come and participate in the STEM talent pipeline that you and I are talking about?
Okay, yeah, I believe we can. Again, it's awareness, and it's having a conversation with someone who can actually make a decision. and I think history has shown corporations that for those that invest in the community doesn't forget that, and they are rewarded by being brands of choice. In a lot of cases, I'm optimistic. Okay, I think it's evolving. I think that there are things that could be done on both sides at the grassroots level, cultivating the talent, again, and having the conversation, and also marketing and letting the broader community know about these individuals. Okay, whether it's in the media, okay, whether it's creating your own contest around STEM activities.
Now, I'm glad you're saying this, because I want to turn this conversation into a conversation around actionable things that we can do. What can Shaun Butler and Bruce Montgomery do to begin to architect some deliverables that can make a difference? Now, you said some of this talent needs to get some visibility. So one thing I can do with this TV show is that if we identify up and coming STEM talent right here in Chicago and Gary and Indiana, we should be able to let people know and give examples of what this young STEM talent looks like.
Absolutely.
In Chicago. And that ought to be something that would be in a lot of people's interest to see, that we've got young chemists and young engineers, and who's participating in these STEM programs and showing all types of natural proclivity for this kind of success. So I certainly open up this platform to do that. Now you have some unique partnerships. You know, you have the ear of some pretty powerful companies in this space. I mean, these are guys that you work with every day. You know, multi-billion-dollar IT and communication services companies. What do you think they could be doing to participate with us in making a difference here on the ground with creating this kind of pipeline?
I'd like to see them participate, particularly in the education space, because that's where it all starts to me. Okay, that's where the awareness begins. That's where the talent is cultivated and the seed is planted. There are many different things that they can do, whether it's, and it doesn't all have to be just hard capital, but with capital you can do some significant and great things. Sharing of intellectual capital. Okay, you mentioned the lack of access to hardware in the case that you mentioned, cell phones, smartphones. There's different programs you can do with traded in smartphones or even with new smartphones to get the consumers at the ground level exposed. Apple did an excellent job of that. When I was young, all of the elementary schools that I attended, they had the Apple IIe. Okay, and I still remember that because they donated those, I believe. And what that did was that made me fond of Apple.
Okay.
And as I got older and I became a consumer, or even when I was younger, Mom, Dad, let's get an Apple. So they were rewarded significantly for that technology investment at the ground level. And I'm a graduate of a public school system at a public school. So there's numerous examples of what the return on the investment can be if these companies invest in the community.
Okay. Now you also, because you are working strategically with these multinational companies, many of whom are based globally, not necessarily American companies, because right now there is a big transition. A lot of the companies that were formerly household names in the United States have sold their franchises to Chinese companies, Korean companies, and so you're just as I was talking to some friends in the mobile space the other day, and they said far and away the number one brand of mobile devices within segments of the urban community is Samsung. But how many people know that Samsung is a Korean company?
That's a good point.
And yet they have a big footprint, a big presence in our community. Do you think that there is an opportunity there to get those types of companies that don't have the same histories of being based stateside to come to the table and also make the kinds of investments necessary to groom talent? You know, I looked at a speech that was given by the chairman CEO of Lenovo, and he was asked to be on a national panel by President Obama.
Okay.
Talking about this very topic of STEM and talent creation, that kind of thing. And he said that as the CEO of this company, Lenovo, which is one of the larger PC companies on the planet, that if they don't cultivate talent from all the communities they participate in, that is the arbiter of their ability to succeed, because in the tremendous competition that's out there, it's all about talent. It is all about talent. And this is what he said, being one of these global players.
There's no question about it. I mean, what makes great companies great is the human capital that they have, whether it's on the R&D side, okay, and whether it's on the sales and marketing side, or whether it's on the executive side, okay. If you don't have best in class or unique people running your company, you're not going to have unique results. And it comes down to that. We tend to use a lot of sports analogies when we talk, and we were talking about baseball. And there's numerous examples of it. You know, if you look at the St. Louis Cardinals, it's a middle market team. They consistently are in the World Series, either winning or vying for a World Series or in the conference championship. I talked to you about the Florida Marlins.
Right.
Florida Marlins have won at least 2 World Series. They're an expansion team, one of the youngest teams in Major League Baseball. And when they won, they did it with either the lowest or one of the lowest payrolls in Major League Baseball.
I would imagine San Antonio Spurs are very similar in that
exactly.
year in and year out. So
Exactly.
then, again, trying to get to commitments, trying to get to action. Can I count on you to bringing some of these guys to the table here in Chicago? Can we get an audience with folks like IBM and Lenovo and HP and some of these other guys to begin to architect some new deliverables in the space that will show our middle school students, our high school students, even our college students that are maybe undecided about, do I have the skill set that can cut it in the tech space? Because, everybody doesn't have to be a coder. Everybody doesn't have to have a double E from Purdue.
Absolutely.
There are people in this industry that can write, that can produce video, that can maybe creative. Because when you look at the new products that are out here today, a lot of them have graphical environments and user interfaces. So if you look at the WhatsApp team, everybody there didn't go to Princeton and major in physics.
Absolutely not.
Some guys picked up the coding piece after they had a background in liberal arts.
Absolutely.
And the coding piece wasn't the main thing. It was the ethnographics. It was the anthropology. It was the cultural identity and the creativity that went into it. So somebody may be a drama major and had a lot to do with the creation of the solution that the marketplace could relate to.
Bruce, that's one of the things that I love about technology. There's something for everybody.
That's right.
Okay, you don't have to, like you said, write code to be in the game.
That's right.
You need to just find out what you have a passion for, develop your skill set, and the rewards are plentiful.
Well, what we're going to do and what this conversation, we've just kind of been riffing a little bit here today, but we want to have some actionable items come out of this. This isn't just a conversation to have a dialogue about what could be, what might be, what ought to be, what ain't. We want to move to making some deliverables. And so as of this show, as of today, you got two guys. Shaun Butler, the owner, founder of an up-and-coming IT services company, and myself producing the TV show and also involved in IT services. We're going to talk to the powers that be that we can lay our hands on to bring some deliverables back to the community. So you have our number here at TechAccessTV. You have our email. You have our Facebook. You can get in touch with us and say, I want to know where this stuff is. Call us out. Hold us accountable. Say, I heard you talking all that smack about there needs to be a pipeline and there needs to be some STEM opportunities. Let's see if we can't bring a new set of activities and opportunities available to our community. If you're a teacher out there, if you're on the board of a school, if you're in a nonprofit organization, I need you to act, to say, I want to see technology opportunities making a difference in the lives of people in my community. I want to see people walk around, not playing on Facebook or tweeting or playing games, but writing apps. I want to see them creating revenue opportunities from these kinds of things. And you'll see two people, Shaun Butler and myself, the start, and I'm sure there are more, who want to bring viable solutions in this arena to bear on making some economic outcomes and some job opportunities available for many, many more people than maybe think they have access to it. This is a commitment we're making.
Absolutely.
And if you're out there and you think you can make a contribution to this commitment, we don't know everything. We'll have all the answers. We're open and receptive to being influenced and exposed to yet even more opportunities that will allow people that want to have a game. There are many, many people that want to be in the game, but are on the sidelines. This is a chance to get everybody in the game so that there can be a competitive environment so all people can win. Shaun, I'm going to hold you accountable.
Please do. Please do. And I'm optimistic, and we are working on hopefully having a breakthrough of significant impact.
So again,
stay